Hey, let's do this. This is Luke Eccles from FantasyBroSports coming at you today with a little fantasy football content. Now, fantasy football is my passion when it comes to fantasy sports. I've been doing fantasy football for years. I love it. I've been doing it since the stats came out in the newspaper. So, with that, I'm going to go through my list of QBs, my QB rankings. Definitely going to be a little bit different than some of the other sites, some of the other folks out there. Um, Definitely try to have a different perspective on fantasy football. Always try to get those guys before their big breakout seasons, before their big career years come forward. Speaking on QB and QB draft strategy, a lot of the other sites, the big fantasy football folks out there that give advice, wait on, they're always telling you to wait on a QB, wait on a QB. Well, that's just not likely because, most of the drafts that we draft in, the players love their QBs. I mean, QBs are often the most recognizable players on the team. They're the most consistent fantasy players. They're the biggest names. So, you know, the strategy that, is always told to us, wait on QB, isn't always doable. So I like to be a little more realistic with my QB rankings. I also think the QB is a very important part of your fantasy team, whereas some people say, oh, wait on a QB, there's not much difference between 12th QB overall and the first QB overall, but I completely disagree with that. I understand the premise, but definitely have to have a different perspective when it comes to the quarterback. I mean, most of the time, your quarterbacks are the most consistent players. It's nice if you have a quarterback you can count on 20 points a week, and then you can build your lineup from there. I also know when it comes to winning fantasy football leagues, the quarterbacks that have their breakout years, and you get them at low value in the drafts. The quarterbacks that maybe are Hall of Famers, but maybe they have a career year. The Peyton Manning years, Tom Brady years, the Aaron Rodgers years, where they're so much better than any other quarterback. You're gonna win your league, and those type of players, the QB position creates more of them than any other position. So, I am all in on taking a QB. Like I said, usually I look for a quarterback that gives good value, and I look for one that's going to have his breakout year, that's going to have a career year. And I think my rankings reflect that. So, with that, I'm going to get right into it. And, like I said, you know, other folks that give advice on fantasy football say wait on QB, wait on QB. There's not much difference between QB1 and QB12. Well, over the last 3 years, I did a little bit of math, and, the difference between QB1 and QB12 is a significant amount of points per week. Last year, it was about 6.5 point difference per game between the first quarterback and the 12th quarterback. In 2016, it was the same. It was about 6.5 points difference between first QB and 12 QB. And then in 2015, when Aaron Rodgers had his huge year, it was almost 7.5 points per game difference between the first QB and the 12th QB. So, I mean, 7 points, 6.5 points per game is going to help you win one, two, maybe five more games a year. So, I mean, the difference in QBs is important, and you got to get it right. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot that can be productive from week to week. But if you get that right QB, your team can be devastating. So, with that, I'm going to go through 26 quarterbacks. Going to try to get through them, give a quick summary why I feel like they're ranked where they are. So, number one quarterback overall, I have Cam Newton. We've seen Cam Newton for years now. He's just durable. He's a beast. He's the dual threat. He can run. He scores touchdowns running. He gets big yards running. He also can pass. He's got a heck of an offense. DJ Moore this year, rookie, gonna spread that offense out. Greg Olson's back. Got C.J. Anderson and Christian McCaffrey at running back. Funches still at wide receiver. So his offense is going to be awesome. His team's awesome. That team, they got big aspirations, and I got big aspirations for Cam. I'm ranking him my number one overall QB. So number two overall QB, I got Deshaun Watson. Those folks that picked up Deshaun Watson last year when he started starting games for the Texans, if you started Deshaun Watson that week, you won your week, plain and simple. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's a difference-making quarterback. And listen, if he can stay healthy for 16 games, he has number one potential. He's got a good offense. They got a great schedule. They play in a great division. I've been high on Deshaun Watson since he was at Clemson out of the draft, and man, he blew away everybody's expectations last year. So, if I get a chance to draft him, definitely going to get him on my team. Probably, get him a good value, maybe reach a couple rounds for him even. But I like Deshaun Watson a lot. I got him number two overall. Number three overall, another young QB, got Carson Wentz. Up and comer. Blew out his knee last year with the Eagles, was having a MVP season. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove that he, too, is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I don't think any letdown for the Eagles this year. I think Carson Wentz is an up-and-comer. I got him rated number three overall as QB. Also, regarding Wentz, obviously coming off an injury, want to see him in camp just to make sure mentally he's healthy and he's ready to compete. Number four, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's 41 years old is why I ranked him low. He's been top 5 QB for as long as he's been in the league. I feel like the Patriots' weapons this year is maybe a little bit depleted. I can't see overall glaring number one wide receiver. Edelman's hurt. Not hurt. Edelman's suspended for 4 games. Chris Hogan, healthy, but, Malcolm Mitchell, you got Jordan Matthews in there. Of course, Gronk. Gronk, big time, but, I think the Patriots are going to lean a little bit on the running game if they can, if their defense can hold up. If their defense lets them down, then Brady's going to have to throw. He's going to have to throw with somebody. And then it all comes down to offensive line and scheme. Ranked number 4 overall, quarterback, not bad by any means. Just, temper expectations on Brady this year. Let's see. Number 5 overall quarterback, got Drew Brees. Drew Brees, stud, getting up there a little bit in age, Hall of Fame quarterback. I think they're going to try to stay with the formula that worked last year, the Saints. Running the ball a little bit more, controlling the clock, not putting so much pressure on Drew Brees to win every game for him. Try to keep the defenses thinking, run, pass, that sort of thing. So expect a very efficient year from Brees. Hopefully get back up there into the 30 touchdown range, but still feel like the Saints are going to lean on their running game as much as they can. Got Brees 5th overall. So number 6 is Rodgers. Talent-wise, Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league right now. I just don't like the weapons around him. I don't like the confidence coming out of Green Bay. Rodgers, like I said, is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he's without a running game, solid running game. He's got 3 mediocre running backs. Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams will be productive wide receivers, but they're not going to make any defenses shaking their boots. You know, a lot of the defenses in the NFC North have improved this year, only getting better. So, and they're coming for Rodgers. So, got Rodgers all the way down to the sixth quarterback. Then to try to avoid that if I can. Number 7, I got Matt Ryan. You know, Matt Ryan's going to have a bounce back year last year. Watched a lot of Falcons games. Had some Falcons players last year, and you know a lot of things went wrong for him. Just drop passes, maybe some confusion on offense, but hopefully this year they'll be back on the same page. Hopefully Julio Jones will catch a few more balls that he dropped. They got extra weapon and Calvin Ridley, same steadily running game. I got Matt Ryan up to my 7th QB. So look for good things out of the Falcons offense and for Ryan to distribute the ball around to all his weapons there. So number 8 QB on the list is Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo, you know, last time we seen him for the 49ers, he went 5-0 as a starter. He looked like Super Bowl winning quarterback to me. You know, his weapons there. McKinnon's new. He's got Breida that still looks prime for a good season. I think Marquise Goodwin going under the radar this year. I think he can be a number 1 wide receiver. Got Pierre Garçon, who's been around forever. Frenchie's going to catch those short passes from Garoppolo. He's just got a good offense as well. Really high and confident on Garoppolo. Also could get him at really good value. Could be the fantasy MVP this year if he continues down the path that he started last year. So number 8, Garoppolo. Next is Kirk Cousins. You know, Kirk Cousins was productive quarterback for the Redskins for years. He didn't have the wide receivers that Diggs, like he has in Minnesota with Diggs and with Thielen. You know, Cousins has a lot of potential. He distributes the ball to everybody. The Vikings are prime for a Super Bowl run. Dalvin Cook's healthy. Latavius Murray, like I mentioned, Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, Treadwell. They've got a whole bunch of weapons there, a hell of a defense. They should have the ball a lot, be winning a lot. You know, like Cousins going 9th overall in my rankings, preseason rankings here. So number 10 is Phillip Rivers. You know, Phillip Rivers, a lot of it comes down to consistency and weapons. You know, Rivers have been consistent for years. He's been doing it for years. He's a gamer. He is, you know, durable. He has a ton of weapons. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Terrell Williams. He's got Melvin Gordon. They need to get a solid tight end out there because we know Rivers loves his tight end. But, you know, I got Phillip Rivers at 10 this year. San Diego should be a great team. They're in a good division. Don't be afraid to breach a couple rounds for Rivers and put him in your lineup every week. So next up at number 11, Jared Goff. You know, Jared Goff came on last year with the Rams. The Rams were, you know, the up-and-coming team last year. Goff is the up-and-coming quarterback. You know, got crazy weapons in Cook and Woods and Cooper Kupp, and got just a beast in Todd Gurley at running back. You know, his coach just is there to call awesome offensive plays. You know, the biggest thing with the Rams and with Jared Goff is dealing with the hype. You know, last year they were kind of under the radar and they were good. This year, teams are going to be game planning for them. You know, they're not going to surprise anybody. So that's the biggest concern when it comes to Goff. But even then, I got him at number 11 QB. So my number 12 QB is Andrew Luck. You know, Andrew Luck coming off a couple years injury, throwing shoulder, you know, a lot of here and there about him. But right now it looks like he's back in camp from everything I've heard. He's healthy.